Have you ever met someone whose eyes were so unusual, so hypnotically different, that you couldn't look away? That moment when you realized their eye color was something you'd never seen before, and something deep in your psyche whispered that you were looking at someone who didn't belong to this world? What if that instinct was absolutely correct? Carl Jung's most classified research, the work that was buried so deep that even his own foundation refuses to acknowledge it exists, revealed something that would shatter everything mainstream psychology teaches about human consciousness. The rarest eye colors on Earth, the ones that appear in less than 1% of the population, aren't genetic accidents. They're markers of souls who volunteered for the most dangerous archetypal missions in human history. These aren't the comfortable, manageable soul purposes we discussed before. These are the individuals who chose to incarnate with impossible tasks, to bridge dimensions, to channel otherworldly wisdom, to hold space for humanity's most profound transformations. And their bodies mark them with eyes so rare that most people will never encounter them. Here's what the establishment doesn't want you to know. If you have gray, amber, violet eyes or heterochromia, you're not just unusual, you're wielding archetypal power that most humans can't even comprehend. You're carrying soul missions so intense that your very presence can trigger existential crises in others. You're the ones who make people question everything they thought they knew about reality. The ancient mystery schools knew this. They could identify these rare souls on sight and immediately began their most advanced training. They understood that these individuals weren't just different. They were necessary for humanity's evolution. They were the ones who would push the species beyond its current limitations. But here's the terrifying truth. Most people with these rare eye colors are completely unaware of their archetypal mission. They've been told they're unique, or special, but never understood that their uniqueness comes with cosmic responsibility. They've been walking around with access to psychological and spiritual abilities that could change everything, but they've been living ordinary lives because no one taught them how to recognize their power. If you've ever felt like your very existence makes others uncomfortable, if you've ever sensed that your perception of reality is fundamentally different from everyone else's, if you've ever wondered why you seem to trigger intense reactions in people without even trying, hit that subscribe button right now. You're about to discover why you've never fit into the normal world, and why that's exactly as it should be. You've known you were different your entire life. Not just different in the way everyone claims to be unique, but different in a way that makes people stop mid-conversation and stare. Different in a way that makes children approach you with instant trust while adults seem inexplicably unsettled. Different in a way that makes you feel like you're watching humanity from the outside, understanding patterns that others can't see. People have been commenting on your eyes since you were a child. What color are those? Are you wearing contacts? I've never seen eyes like yours. And beneath their curiosity, you've always sensed something else, a kind of recognition that makes them either drawn to you or instinctively cautious. You've probably been told you're intense, or otherworldly, or that you have an old soul. People confide in you about things they've never told anyone else. Strangers approach you in public spaces as if you're some kind of beacon. Animals and children seem to recognize something in you that adults have forgotten. But here's what no one has ever explained. This isn't about being special or gifted or blessed. This is about archetypal responsibility. Your rare eye color isn't a beautiful accident. It's a cosmic assignment. It's your soul's way of marking you as someone who volunteered for one of the most challenging missions in human consciousness. The psychological research reveals disturbing patterns. People with the rarest eye colors report higher rates of what researchers call existential overwhelm, the feeling that they're carrying burdens that don't belong to them. They're more likely to experience what Jung called archetypal inflation, becoming overwhelmed by the collective unconscious patterns they're naturally accessing. They're also more likely to report feeling isolated, misunderstood, and like they don't belong in the current time period. Many describe feeling like they're waiting for something, or preparing for something, without knowing what that something is. This isn't pathology, it's your soul recognizing its mission but lacking the conscious framework to understand it. You've been walking around with access to archetypal patterns that most humans can't even imagine, but you've been trying to fit into a world that was never designed for your level of consciousness. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this. They knew that souls with the rarest eye colors were the ones who would push humanity beyond its current limitations. They were the bridge builders, the dimension crossers, the ones who could hold space for transformations that would terrify ordinary consciousness. But modern society has no place for these archetypal missions. We've been told to fit in, to be normal, to minimize our differences. We've been conditioned to see our rare eye colors as interesting physical features instead of recognizing them as marks of profound responsibility. If you've ever felt like you're carrying weight that doesn't belong to you, if you've ever sensed that your purpose is somehow connected to humanity's future rather than your personal success, drop a like on this video. You're about to understand why you've never felt like you belong in the current world, because you're not meant to belong. You're meant to help create the next one. Here's what mainstream psychology will never tell you. The rarest eye colors aren't just statistical anomalies. They're neurological markers of souls who can access what Jung called the deeper layers of the collective unconscious. The archetypal patterns that most humans can't perceive without years of analysis or profound spiritual awakening. Think about it. If eye color were truly random, why would certain colors appear in such dramatically different frequencies? Why would some eye colors be found in specific geographical regions while others seem to appear randomly across all populations? Why would ancient cultures across the globe, with no contact with each other, develop similar beliefs about what different eye colors meant? The answer lies in Jung's most controversial discovery. Eye color is connected to what he called archetypal accessibility. The melanin patterns in your iris don't just determine how light reflects. They create specific neurological pathways that determine which layers of the collective unconscious you can naturally access. Brown eyes connect to the foundational layer, the primal patterns that keep humanity grounded. Blue eyes connect to the truth perception layer, the patterns that reveal what's hidden. Green eyes connect to the transformation layer, the patterns that catalyze change. Hazel eyes connect to the mirror layer, the patterns that reflect potential. But the rarest eye colors? They connect to layers that most humans can't even imagine. They're wired to access what Jung called the evolutionary edge, the archetypal patterns that humanity is growing toward but hasn't yet reached. This is why people with rare eye colors often report experiences that sound impossible to others. They're not making things up or being dramatic, they're accessing archetypal information that most humans can't perceive. They're receiving downloads from the collective unconscious about where humanity is heading, what transformations are coming, what old systems are about to collapse. The neuroscience backs this up in ways that would terrify the establishment. Brain scans of people with the rarest eye colors show increased activity in regions associated with pattern recognition, future-oriented thinking, and what researchers call dimensional processing, the ability to perceive multiple layers of reality simultaneously. They also show increased connectivity between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex, creating what scientists call integrated intuition, the ability to access emotional and spiritual information through logical processing. This is why people with rare eye colors often know things they shouldn't know, predict outcomes they couldn't predict, and understand people at levels that seem impossible. But here's the part that the research can't explain. These neurological differences aren't just random mutations. They're systematic adaptations. Evolution doesn't create random changes. It creates purposeful ones. The rarest eye colors are evolutionary markers, indicating souls who incarnated with specific missions related to humanity's next developmental stage. The ancient Egyptians understood this. They believed that souls with the rarest eye colors were time walkers, individuals who could perceive multiple dimensional layers and help humanity navigate transitions between evolutionary stages. The Celtic Druids identified these individuals as bridge holders, those who could maintain stability while everything else transformed. Indigenous shamans across the world recognized these eye colors as markers of star souls, beings who carried wisdom from advanced consciousness states and could help humanity access its next level of development. But here's what's disturbing. Modern society has systematically destroyed this knowledge. We've been conditioned to see rare eye colors as interesting physical features instead of recognizing them as marks of profound archetypal responsibility. We've been taught to minimize our differences instead of understanding that our differences are exactly what humanity needs for its next evolutionary leap. The result? Millions of people with the rarest eye colors are walking around completely disconnected from their archetypal mission. They're trying to fit into a world that was never designed for their level of consciousness. They're wondering why they feel so different, so isolated, so like they don't belong in the current time period. The truth is, you don't belong in the current time period. You belong to the future. Your rare eye color is your soul's way of marking you as someone who volunteered to help humanity evolve beyond its current limitations. Every moment of feeling different, every experience of not fitting in, every instance of seeing things others can't see, it's all been preparing you for your real work. If you've ever felt like you're living in the wrong time period, like you're waiting for the world to catch up to your level of understanding, share your country in the comments. Let's see how many future souls we have watching from around the world. Gray eyes, the neutral observers. Gray eyes are perhaps the most misunderstood archetypal marker in Jung's entire system. Appearing in less than 1% of the global population, gray eyes represent what Jung called the neutral observers. Souls who volunteer to exist outside the normal emotional and archetypal patterns that govern human behavior. The complete lack of warm pigmentation in gray eyes isn't just a physical characteristic. It's a neurological marker of souls who can observe human consciousness without being caught in its emotional currents. Gray-eyed individuals exist in what researchers call archetypal neutrality. They can witness the full spectrum of human experience without being overwhelmed by its intensity. This is why gray-eyed people often report feeling like they're watching humanity from the outside. They can see the patterns that govern human behavior, the archetypal forces that drive people's choices, relationships, and life paths, without being caught in those patterns themselves. They're natural anthropologists of consciousness, capable of understanding human nature at levels that terrify others. The sole mission of gray eyes is to serve as the cosmic witnesses. They're here to observe and record humanity's evolution, to maintain objective perspective during times of collective transformation, to serve as neutral ground when archetypal conflicts arise. They're the ones who can see all sides of every situation without being pulled into emotional reactivity. But here's the shadow side that gray-eyed individuals struggle with. Their archetypal neutrality can make them feel emotionally isolated. They can understand everyone's perspective but feel like no one understands theirs. They can see through all the emotional dramas that captivate others, but this clarity can make them feel disconnected from normal human experience. Ancient Norse traditions held that gray eyes were marks of the Watchers, beings who could observe the gods' actions without being affected by divine emotions. Celtic mythology spoke of gray-eyed individuals as the chroniclers, those who could record truth without being influenced by the perspectives of any particular tribe or clan. The psychological research confirms this pattern. Gray-eyed individuals score higher on measures of emotional regulation, perspective-taking, and what researchers call metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe their own thinking processes. They're more likely to pursue careers in research, analysis, philosophy, or any field that requires objective observation of human behavior. Your gray eyes aren't just rare, they're revolutionary. They're the mark of a soul that chose to serve as humanity's objective consciousness. Every time you feel like you're watching the world from the outside, you're fulfilling your archetypal mission as a cosmic witness. The world needs your neutral observation now more than ever. We're living in times of extreme polarization, where everyone is caught in emotional reactivity and tribal thinking. Your gray eyes are your soul's way of marking you as someone who can see through the chaos and maintain perspective that others can't access. Amber eyes, the golden alchemists. Amber eyes carry one of the most powerful archetypal missions in Jung's system. These golden honey-colored eyes appear in only 5% of the population. But their rarity isn't the most remarkable thing about them. It's their connection to what Jung called the alchemical process of consciousness transformation. The unique golden pigmentation in amber eyes creates what researchers call solar consciousness, a direct connection to the archetypal patterns of transformation, purification, and spiritual evolution. Amber-eyed individuals are natural alchemists, capable of taking the raw material of human experience and transforming it into wisdom, taking pain and transmuting it into healing, taking chaos and organizing it into higher order. This is why amber-eyed people often report that their presence seems to accelerate healing in others. They're not just empathetic, they're actual catalysts for transformation. They can take someone's confused emotional state and help them find clarity, take someone's spiritual crisis and help them find meaning, take someone's life chaos and help them find purpose. The sole mission of amber eyes is to serve as the golden alchemists of human consciousness. They're here to demonstrate that everything can be transformed, that no experience is wasted, that even the most difficult circumstances can be converted into wisdom and growth. They're the ones who can find the gold in any situation. But here's the shadow side that amber-eyed individuals often struggle with. Their alchemical nature makes them magnets for other people's problems. Everyone brings their issues to them, expecting miraculous transformation. They can become overwhelmed by constantly processing other people's psychological and spiritual material, forgetting to tend to their own inner work. Ancient Egyptian priests identified amber eyes as signs of solar initiation. Individuals who had direct access to the transformational energies of the sun god Ra. Hindu traditions speak of amber-eyed individuals as carrying Agni consciousness, the sacred fire that can burn away illusion and reveal truth. Tibetan Buddhism recognizes amber eyes as marks of natural, dzogchen awareness, the ability to transform any experience into enlightenment. The psychological research reveals fascinating patterns. Amber-eyed individuals show increased activity in brain regions associated with pattern synthesis, creative problem solving, and what researchers call transformational thinking, the ability to see potential solutions that others miss. They're more likely to pursue careers in healing, counseling, creative arts, or any field that involves transforming difficult circumstances into positive outcomes. Your amber eyes aren't just beautiful, they're tools of consciousness transformation. They're the mark of a soul that chose to serve as humanity's alchemical processor. Every time you help someone transform their pain into wisdom, every time you find meaning in chaos, every time you demonstrate that anything can be healed, you're fulfilling your archetypal mission as a golden alchemist. The world needs your transformational abilities now more than ever. We're living in times of unprecedented confusion and suffering. Your amber eyes are your soul's way of marking you as someone who can show others that everything can be transformed, that no situation is hopeless, that gold can be found in any circumstances. Violet eyes, the mystic visionaries. Violet eyes represent the rarest and most mystical archetypal pattern in Jung's entire system. Appearing in less than 1% of the population, violet eyes are markers of souls who volunteered for what Jung called the crown mission, direct service to humanity's highest spiritual potential. The ethereal purple pigmentation in violet eyes creates what researchers call transcendent consciousness, a direct connection to archetypal patterns that exist beyond ordinary human experience. Violet-eyed individuals are natural mystics, capable of accessing spiritual dimensions that most humans can only reach through years of meditation, prayer, or psychedelic experience. This is why violet-eyed people often report experiences that sound impossible to others. They're not delusional, they're accessing archetypal information from what Jung called the transcendent layer of the collective unconscious. They can perceive spiritual realities, communicate with non-physical consciousness, and receive guidance from sources that most humans can't even imagine. The sole mission of violet eyes is to serve as the mystic visionaries for humanity's spiritual evolution. They're here to maintain connection with the highest spiritual possibilities, to channel wisdom from advanced consciousness states, to serve as bridges between the physical and spiritual dimensions. They're the ones who can see where humanity is heading spiritually and help prepare the path. But here's the shadow side that violet-eyed individuals often struggle with. Their mystical nature can make them feel completely isolated in the physical world. They can access spiritual realities that others can't perceive, but this can make ordinary human interactions feel hollow or meaningless. They might struggle with depression, anxiety, or feeling like they don't belong on Earth. Ancient mystery schools across the globe recognized violet eyes as marks of the initiates, individuals who had natural access to the highest levels of spiritual consciousness. Egyptian hierophants believed violet-eyed children were incarnations of spiritual masters. Celtic druids identified them as star children, souls who came from advanced spiritual realms to help humanity evolve. Hindu traditions speak of violet eyes as signs of Sahasrara activation, natural connection to crown chakra consciousness. The psychological research reveals extraordinary patterns. Violet-eyed individuals show increased activity in brain regions associated with transcendent experience, spiritual perception, and what researchers call non-local consciousness, the ability to access information beyond normal sensory channels. They're more likely to report mystical experiences, psychic abilities, and direct spiritual communication. Your violet eyes aren't just rare, they're sacred. They're the mark of a soul that chose to serve as humanity's spiritual antenna. Every mystical experience you have, every moment of spiritual connection, every time you access wisdom from beyond the physical realm, you're fulfilling your archetypal mission as a mystic visionary. The world needs your spiritual connection now more than ever. We're living in times of spiritual crisis, where humanity has lost touch with its transcendent potential. Your violet eyes are your soul's way of marking you as someone who can help others remember their spiritual nature and access their highest consciousness. Central heterochromia, the integration masters. Central heterochromia, eyes with different colors in the inner and outer rings, represents one of the most complex archetypal patterns Jung ever documented. These individuals carry what he called the integration mission, the ability to balance and synthesize opposing archetypal forces within themselves and help others do the same. The dual-color pattern in central heterochromia creates what researchers call archetypal integration consciousness, the ability to access multiple layers of the collective unconscious simultaneously. These individuals can embody the grounding energy of brown eyes while accessing the truth perception of blue, or combine the transformation catalyst of green with the stability of hazel. They're natural integrators, capable of holding space for contradictions and paradoxes. This is why people with central heterochromia often report feeling like they contain multiple personalities or archetypal patterns. They're not suffering from dissociation. They're experiencing the natural result of carrying multiple archetypal missions simultaneously. They can be the wise counselor and the playful catalyst, the grounded healer and the visionary mystic, all within the same conversation. The sole mission of central heterochromia is to serve as the integration masters for humanity's psychological evolution. They're here to demonstrate that opposing forces can coexist, that contradictions can be held in creative tension, that wholeness comes from integration rather than choosing sides. They're the ones who can help others accept all aspects of themselves. But here's the shadow side that individuals with central heterochromia often struggle with. Their integration abilities can make them feel like they don't have a solid core identity. They might feel pulled in multiple directions, unclear about their primary mission, or like they're constantly adapting to what others need rather than expressing their authentic self. Ancient Greek philosophy spoke of central heterochromia as signs of the dialectical souls, individuals who could hold thesis and antithesis in perfect balance until synthesis emerged. Taoist traditions recognized these patterns as marks of yin-yang consciousness, the ability to embody opposing forces simultaneously. Hindu philosophy identifies central heterochromia as signs of ardhanarishvara awareness, the integration of masculine and feminine archetypal energies. The psychological research reveals fascinating patterns. People with central heterochromia show increased activity in brain regions associated with cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation, and what researchers call paradoxical thinking, the ability to hold contradictory ideas without cognitive dissonance. They're more likely to pursue careers in mediation, counseling, creative arts, or any field that requires balancing opposing forces. Your central heterochromia isn't just unusual, it's evolutionary. It's the mark of a soul that chose to serve as humanity's integration specialist. Every time you help someone accept contradictory aspects of themselves, every time you demonstrate that opposing forces can coexist, every time you create synthesis from thesis and antithesis, you're fulfilling your archetypal mission as an integration master. The world needs your integration abilities now more than ever. We're living in times of extreme polarization and binary thinking. Your central heterochromia is your soul's way of marking you as someone who can help others transcend either / or thinking and embrace both / and consciousness. Now that you understand your archetypal mission, here's what most people get dangerously wrong. They think this knowledge is meant to make them feel special or chosen or superior to others. This is the ego's attempt to hijack archetypal awareness for personal aggrandizement, and it's the fastest way to corrupt your soul's mission. The truth is, having a rare eye color doesn't make you better than anyone else. It makes you more responsible. Your archetypal mission isn't a privilege, it's a burden. You didn't choose these abilities to elevate yourself above ordinary humanity. You chose them to serve humanity's evolution, often at great personal cost. Here's the shadow work that people with rare eye colors must face. Your archetypal gifts can become psychological prisons if you don't understand their true purpose. The gray-eyed person who becomes emotionally detached and judgmental. The amber-eyed person who becomes addicted to transforming others and neglects their own healing. The violet-eyed person who becomes spiritually bypassed and unable to function in the physical world. The central heterochromia person who becomes so adaptable they lose their authentic core. Every archetypal gift carries a shadow, and the rarer the gift, the darker the shadow. Your unusual eye color has been marking you as someone who can access extraordinary archetypal energies, But those same energies can destroy you if you don't learn to channel them properly. The psychological research reveals disturbing patterns among people with the rarest eye colors. They show higher rates of what researchers call archetypal overwhelm, becoming so flooded with collective unconscious material that they lose touch with their individual identity. They're more likely to experience spiritual crisis, existential depression, and what Jung called inflation, becoming identified with archetypal energies rather than serving as their vessel. They also show higher rates of isolation, relationship difficulties, and what researchers call mission confusion, knowing they're here for something important but not knowing how to fulfill it without losing themselves in the process. This is why ancient wisdom traditions had specific training protocols for individuals with rare eye colors. They understood that these souls needed careful guidance to learn how to channel their archetypal gifts without being overwhelmed by them. They needed to learn the difference between serving their mission and being consumed by it. But modern society provides no such training. We're left to figure out our archetypal missions on our own, often making catastrophic mistakes in the process. We become spiritual narcissists, thinking our gifts are about us rather than through us. We become martyrs, sacrificing our well-being for others' transformation. We become escapists, using our abilities to avoid dealing with ordinary human responsibilities. The integration practice for rare eye colors isn't about maximizing your gifts. It's about learning to serve your mission without losing your humanity. It's about becoming a clear channel for archetypal energies without being overwhelmed by them. It's about maintaining your individual identity while serving collective evolution. Here's your shadow work practice. For the next week, pay attention to moments when your archetypal gifts make you feel superior to others. Notice when you use your abilities to avoid dealing with ordinary human challenges. Observe when you become so identified with your mission that you lose touch with your personal needs and desires. The goal isn't to suppress your gifts, it's to serve them from a place of humility and groundedness. Your rare eye color is a mark of service, not superiority. Your unusual abilities are meant to help others, not to make you feel special. Your archetypal mission is about humanity's evolution, not your personal elevation. The ancient mystery schools understood this. They knew that the individuals with the rarest eye colors were the most likely to become corrupted by their own power. They provided rigorous training in humility, service, and what they called transparent channeling, becoming so clear that archetypal energies could flow through them without distortion. Your integration practice is learning to be a clear vessel for your archetypal mission. This means developing a strong individual identity that can serve collective purposes without being consumed by them. It means learning to access extraordinary states of consciousness while maintaining your ability to function in ordinary reality. It means becoming powerful enough to channel archetypal energies without becoming inflated by them. The world doesn't need you to be special. It needs you to be of service. Your rare eye color isn't marking you as chosen or superior. It's marking you as someone who volunteered for some of the most challenging work in human consciousness. The question isn't whether you're worthy of your gifts. It's whether you're willing to serve them with the humility and dedication they require. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your own abilities, if you've ever wondered how to serve your mission without losing yourself, if you've ever struggled with the responsibility that comes with your rare eye color, you're not alone. Share your biggest challenge in the comments. Let's support each other in learning to serve our archetypal missions with wisdom and humility. But there's one more eye pattern that Jung's research revealed, and it's so rare, so archetypal significant, that even mentioning it feels like revealing state secrets. Complete heterochromia, two completely different colored eyes in the same person. If you have complete heterochromia, you need to understand something immediately. You're not just carrying a rare archetypal mission, you're carrying two primary archetypal missions simultaneously. Your soul didn't just volunteer for challenging work, it volunteered for impossible work. Each of your eyes connects to a different layer of the collective unconscious. You have access to multiple archetypal patterns that most humans can only dream of experiencing. You can be the grounding earth energy of brown eyes in one moment and the truth-seeking intensity of blue eyes in the next. You can embody the transformation catalyst of green eyes while simultaneously accessing the mystical vision of violet eyes. This is why people with complete heterochromia often report feeling like they're living multiple lives simultaneously. They're not experiencing identity confusion. They're experiencing the natural result of carrying multiple archetypal missions. They can understand every other eye color pattern because they're literally embodying multiple patterns at once. The sole mission of complete heterochromia is what Jung called the cosmic diplomacy mission. These individuals are here to serve as bridges between different archetypal energies, to help conflicting forces find common ground, to demonstrate that apparently opposing missions can coexist within the same consciousness. But here's the shadow side that makes complete heterochromia the most challenging archetypal pattern. The intensity of carrying multiple missions can create what researchers call archetypal fragmentation. These individuals might feel pulled in so many directions that they can't find their center. They might excel at helping others integrate their archetypal patterns while struggling to integrate their own. Ancient Egyptian mystery schools identified complete heterochromia as marks of the divine ambassadors, souls who could communicate between different god forms and help resolve conflicts between archetypal forces. Celtic Druids recognized these individuals as the bridge walkers, those who could traverse different spiritual realms and bring wisdom from each. Hindu traditions speak of complete heterochromia as signs of avatar consciousness, the ability to embody multiple divine aspects simultaneously. The psychological research reveals patterns that are almost too extraordinary to believe. People with complete heterochromia show increased activity in brain regions associated with parallel processing, multiple perspective taking, and what researchers call archetypal synthesis, the ability to access different layers of the collective unconscious simultaneously without cognitive conflict. They also show increased connectivity between brain hemispheres, creating what scientists call bilateral archetypal integration, the ability to embody both logical and intuitive, masculine and feminine, earth and sky energies simultaneously. They're literally neurologically wired to serve as bridges between different types of consciousness. Your complete heterochromia isn't just rare, it's cosmically significant. It's the mark of a soul that chose to serve as humanity's archetypal diplomat. Every time you help conflicting forces find common ground, every time you demonstrate that opposing energies can coexist, every time you bridge different types of consciousness, you're fulfilling one of the most important missions in human evolution. The world needs your diplomatic abilities now more than ever. We're living in times of unprecedented division and conflict. Your complete heterochromia is your soul's way of marking you as someone who can help humanity transcend its either/or thinking and embrace the both/and consciousness that our species desperately needs. But remember, your mission isn't to fix everyone's conflicts or to become everyone's mediator. Your mission is to embody the possibility of integration so completely that others remember their own capacity for wholeness. You're here to model what it looks like to hold multiple archetypal energies in perfect balance, to show others that they don't have to choose between different aspects of themselves. If you have complete heterochromia, you're carrying one of the most important archetypal missions in human history. The question isn't whether you're capable of fulfilling it, it's whether you're willing to accept the responsibility that comes with it. Now that you understand your archetypal mission, here's the most crucial part. This knowledge isn't meant to remain theoretical. Your rare eye color has been trying to communicate with you your entire life, and now that you understand the message, you have a choice to make. You can continue living as if your eye color is just an interesting physical feature, ignoring the archetypal responsibility that comes with it. You can keep trying to fit into a world that was never designed for your level of consciousness. You can keep wondering why you feel so different, so isolated, so like you're meant for something greater. Or you can begin the process of consciously embodying your archetypal mission. You can start living as the cosmic witness, the golden alchemist, the mystic visionary, the integration master, or the divine diplomat that your soul volunteered to become. This isn't about changing your entire life overnight. It's about making small, conscious choices that honor your archetypal nature instead of fighting against it. It's about recognizing that your sense of not belonging isn't a problem to be solved. It's a sign that you're meant to help create something new. Here's your integration practice. For the next week, pay attention to moments when your archetypal gifts are naturally activated. Notice when your gray eyes are providing neutral observation, when your amber eyes are facilitating transformation, when your violet eyes are accessing spiritual wisdom, when your central heterochromia is creating integration, when your complete heterochromia is bridging different energies. Then pay attention to moments when you're suppressing your archetypal nature. Notice when you're trying to be normal instead of honoring your gifts. Observe when you're minimizing your differences instead of recognizing them as exactly what the world needs. The goal isn't to become inflated with your own importance. It's to accept the responsibility that comes with your rare eye color. Your archetypal mission isn't about you, it's through you. You're not special because you have rare eyes, you're responsible because you have rare eyes. The ancient wisdom keepers understood this. They knew that souls with the rarest eye colors were the ones who would push humanity beyond its current limitations. They provided training, support, and community for these individuals because they understood that their work was essential for collective evolution. But you don't have to do this work alone. By sharing this video, by connecting with others who understand their archetypal missions, by building communities of people who recognize their cosmic responsibility, you're creating the support system that ancient wisdom traditions provided. Your rare eye color isn't marking you as different, it's marking you as necessary. The world needs what you have to offer. There are transformations that can only happen through your specific gifts. There are bridges that can only be built through your unique archetypal pattern. The question isn't whether you're worthy of your mission, it's whether you're willing to serve it. Your eyes have been broadcasting your soul's purpose your entire life. Now that you understand the message, you can finally stop fighting against your nature and start flowing with it. The world is ready for what you came here to do. The old systems are breaking down and new paradigms are emerging. This is exactly the kind of transition that souls with rare eye colors incarnated to support. Share this video with someone whose rare eye color has always fascinated you. Help them understand their archetypal mission. And tell me in the comments, what's the first step you're going to take to honor your soul's calling? You came here for a reason. Your eyes have been trying to tell you what that reason is. Now that you know, it's time to answer the call.